Okay, here goes. Dr. Jolly contacted Mrs. Diana Wiggins, the team manager of the North Recovery Team, to discuss your concerns regarding the withdrawal of your support worker. According to Mrs. Wiggins, this was not done to victimise me for complaining, in order to prevent me from being tested for autism. So that means there's no pattern of making a complaint and losing your support. On my first complaint, within 2 days of it registering, I got sectioned. That could have been a coincidence. But when I was let go from the hospital, within 2 days of an appointment being made to see an investigator, I had my support worker, nicolawakeham, withdrawn from me or whatever. Diana Wiggins sent me a letter and she said she was withdrawn or taken away from working with me in relation to complaint 1. And there's documented evidence there, and I put it in writing. That's 1. It's documentation. She's admitted herself in her own writing that she was withdrawn in relation to complaint 1. Number 2, she says there's no pattern. When I put in complaint number 2, the one where I had to go see Dr. Jolly, she wasn't just withdrawn from my case, but she wasn't available at Old Oak. Basically, within 2 days of me sending complaint number 2 in the post, on the day that I sent it, she was withdrawn as my support worker. Now, that's pretty punctual, and that's the same thing repeating itself. That to me looks like a pattern. And this isn't somebody who's looking for patterns. Within 2 days of putting in a complaint, each time you lose your community support worker. And it's nothing to do with the complaint, but it does because Diana Wiggins put it in writing. And I would like that addressed. I don't even know if you're going to do this, to be honest with you, because it's pretty obvious. My support worker was withdrawn as part of refocusing North Recovery Team towards what is referred to as a recovery model. So the reason she gets withdrawn is nothing to do with the complaint. It's got to do with being part of your new policy of a recovery model. Well, that's what happened the second time. What happened the first time? If this has been done with a recovery model, how come they don't all get withdrawn at the same time? And if it's all to do with the recovery model, which is the second time she's withdrawn, what was the reason for her being withdrawn? This is terrible. Here goes. Just before my tribunal, during my session with the doctor, why did he have something that said I had a history of taking people hostage? Where did this information come from? Please justify its accuracy. Was he given the information in an attempt to discredit the claims that I had Asperger's, thereby protecting those who had misdiagnosed me for so many years from having to answer these questions? Well, that's a bit frivolous, that bit. It's almost melodrama. Okay, I've looked at the text and I'm going to go through one sentence here, which is the reason I think more than one person wrote up this response to the complaint. Dr. Jolly has examined both the medical and AMHP reports presented at your tribunal. There is no nursing report on file, and it is not clear if a written report was submitted to the tribunal. Now, in the actual tribunal report, or court report that came out, or whatever you want to call it, it lists everything in it, and including what's listed in it is written evidence and who wrote the written evidence. But it says here it is not clear if a written report was submitted to the tribunal. A written report was submitted to the tribunal because Dr. Walsh had it in his possession and he read it out. Let alone that my solicitor had a copy. And I think part of how the tribunal works is you have written evidence. So just go to Daisy Day, a mental health professional, a mental health act officer, and ask for a copy of the court report for the 29th of the 2nd, 2012, involving me, and just look at it and you'll see there's written evidence and who wrote it. And why was Dr. Dale, if he wrote anything on that, why was he omitted for being an author? This is embarrassing. Here goes. Neither reports on record make reference to you having held anybody hostage. Well, earlier in this particular written response that you've given me to complaint, you mentioned that a doctor said when I talked to him for less than a minute at a door and asked him about something, that I held him hostage. And this was put down in the evidence in front of the tribunal. Well, even if there isn't written evidence that I was accused of taking people hostage that you can't obtain for the tribunal, there is written evidence in this response to the complaint because you've mentioned it. So it's ridiculous to say that there's people going around making this accusation about me. Well, according to what's written in this particular answer to the complaint, you've actually put it down in this complaint. So it's not ridiculous, you've actually put it down in this complaint itself. So I'd like to question why you're saying it's ridiculous when that you're going around making this accusation.